California taxpayers spent $24 billion to fix homelessness, and all we got were luxury mansions for charity directors and instant ramen for the poor.
That's a perfect summary.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today is Friday, January 23, 2026, and if you live in California, or frankly, anywhere where you pay taxes, you are going to want to sit down for this one.
Yeah.
The news breaking today is, well, it's honestly hard to believe.
It's a complete shock to the system.
Yeah.
I mean, we were looking at a story that perfectly encapsulates everything wrong with how the state handles homelessness.
Right.
We have a massive arrest today of a man named Alexander Soofer. He's the executive director of a charity called Abundant Blessings.
Abundant blessings. You really can't make this stuff up. Though I guess for him, the blessings were pretty abundant.
They certainly were. Federal prosecutors arrested him this morning, and they're alleging he swindled $23 million in public funds.
$23 million.
And the details of where that money went are they're staggering. We aren't talking about administrative overhead or, bad bookkeeping.
No. This is something else.
This is a $7 million home in Westwood, a $125,000 Range Rover, private school tuition for his kids, and a vacation property in Greece.
A vacation property in Greece, bought with money that was explicitly legally mandated to help people sleeping on the concrete in Los Angeles. But the mansions and the luxury cars, that's almost standard villain stuff.
Right. We see that in fraud cases.
We see it all the time. But the detail in the DOJ report that really made my stomach turn, and I think will infuriate everyone listening, was the food.
Right. This is the detail that haunts you. Soofer was contractually obligated to provide healthy, balanced, nutritious meals to the homeless people in his care.
He was paid millions of our dollars to do exactly that.
Exactly. But when investigators finally showed up to check the books, what did they find? Instant ramen noodles and canned beans.
That is it's visceral. You have a guy allegedly flying private to his Greek villa, sipping champagne, while the vulnerable people he is supposed to be saving are eating 50-cent noodles. It is the ultimate picture of what we've been warning about.
The homeless industrial complex.
The homeless industrial complex.
And that is the key phrase here, because we need to be very clear. Alexander Soofer is not just one bad apple. He is a symptom of a much, much larger disease.
A $24 billion disease.
Today, we are unpacking not just this arrest, but a massive statewide failure involving $24 billion in taxpayer money that the state admits it basically stopped tracking years ago.
So let's back up and look at that number. $24 billion. That is with a B. I mean, that's more than the GDP of some small countries.
That's a staggering amount of money.
How do you spend that much money and have the problem actually get worse?
That is the question the California State Auditor tried to answer. And the results are terrifying for anyone who cares about fiscal responsibility. Between 2018 and 2023, the state poured that $24 billion into these programs.
Yeah.
And in that same time frame, the homeless population didn't go down. It didn't even stay flat. It increased by nearly 30% to over 181,000 people.
So let me get this straight. We are paying record amounts of money to get record bad results. If this were a business, everyone involved would be fired.
Absolutely. But since it's government, they probably just asked for a budget increase. And the audit found something even crazier than just the failure to get results.
There's a reason that.
It's not just that the programs didn't work. It's that the state stopped looking to see if they worked.
What do you mean, stop looking?
They call it the data desert. The agency in charge is called CAL-ICH, the California Interagency Council on Homelessness. And the audit found they stopped tracking whether these massive spending programs were actually working back in June 2021.
Wait, they just stopped. They just kept writing checks for billions of our dollars and stopped checking if it was helping anyone.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
The expert view here is that they created a system where spending money was the goal, not solving the problem. As long as the checks were going out, they considered the job done.
Unbelievable.
And the data they did keep, it is a total mess. The audit found the state database was full of errors. I mean, they found beneficiaries listed in the system named Mickey Mouse.
You have to be kidding me.
Superwoman and test participant.
Mickey Mouse is receiving homeless benefits in California. I know Disneyland is expensive, but I didn't think he was that down on his luck.
According to the state database, he is. And it gets worse. Some shelters were reporting enrollment numbers that were double or even triple their actual bed capacity.
So it's a complete phantom system.
On paper, it looks like they're helping thousands of people, but physically, those beds just don't exist.
It's a free-for-all. And when you have a free-for-all with billions of dollars floating around, you attract sharks, you attract predators.
Exactly.
Which brings us back to today's news and Mr. Soofer. We need to unpack how this grift actually works, because it wasn't just him dipping his hand in the till. This was sophisticated, wasn't it?
It was. The mechanics of the fraud are textbook white-collar crime, just applied to charity. Soofer is accused of creating fake invoices.
Fake invoices.
He allegedly stole logos and addresses from real companies to create bills for services that never happened.
So he's sitting at his computer, maybe using Photoshop and billing the city for, say, security services or maintenance, but he's just printing the invoice on his home printer.
Allegedly, yes. And because there was no oversight, because of that data desert we mentioned, nobody caught it.
Right.
And when investigators asked the obvious question, who was watching the money, Soofer claimed he had a board of directors, for oversight.
And let me guess, the board was Mickey Mouse and Superwoman.
Close. The board members either didn't exist or they were real people who had never even heard of Alexander Soofer or his charity.
Wow.
He just used their names to fill out the paperwork.
Think about the sheer audacity of that. He just picks names out of a hat, puts them on a federal form, and says, yeah, these people are watching me. And the state just stamps the check.
And of course, there was the nepotism, a classic move. He hired family members and, as we mentioned, used tax dollars to pay for his children's private school tuition.
It takes a special kind of boldness to pay for your kid's private school with money meant to house the homeless. But he's not the only one making headlines. This isn't an isolated incident.
Not at all.
We also have to talk about Shangri-La Industries. This sounds like a luxury resort, but it was supposed to be housing, right?
Right. This is a separate case, but it shows the pattern of corruption. You have Cody Holmes and Stephen Taylor from Shangri-La Industries. They secured nearly $26 million in state grants.
$26 million?
Their job was to convert old motels into housing for the homeless, specifically in Thousand Oaks.
Project Homekey, right. That's the state's flagship program, the one the governor's always bragging about on TV.
Exactly. And to get that money, Holmes allegedly submitted fake bank statements to the state to prove they had the liquid cash to finish the projects. Spoiler alert, they didn't.
So they lied to get the grant, and then did they at least build the housing?
No.
Yeah.
According to the charges, Holmes used the grant money to pay off his personal credit cards and buy luxury goods.
Of course he did.
But the Stephen Taylor angle is even more devious. He is charged with bank fraud and identity theft for a scheme involving a double escrow.
Ooh, double escrow. That sounds technical. Break that down for us. What exactly did he do?
It's a classic flip, but done illegally with public funds. Taylor allegedly bought a property for about $11 million, but he hid that price.
Okay.
He then immediately flipped it to a nonprofit, which was funded by taxpayers, for over $27 million.
He more than doubled the price instantly.
Instantly. And he hid the original price so the lenders and the state wouldn't know he was making a massive profit on the spread. He basically arbitraged the taxpayers' desire to solve homelessness.
So he just pocketed $16 million for moving paper around.
Pretty much.
That is just, it's infuriating. You have Soofer buying a Greek villa and these guys flipping buildings for a $16 million profit, all while the homeless population goes up 30%.
It feels like the homeless are just a commodity to these people. They're inventory for a business.
That is a very astute way to put it. When you read the academic literature on this, they call it shell company fraud, right? This is an actual business model.
It is. Fraudsters set up companies with no assets, no trucks, no tools, no staff, just to siphon money.
Shell companies. Like in the movies, just a P.O. box and a bank account.
Exactly. They simulate operations. They produce paperwork, not results. They generate invoices, reports, emails, but they don't actually paint the walls or fix the locks. Once the cash is gone, they dissolve the company and vanish.
And we have examples of this in San Francisco too, right?
Yeah.
It's not just an L.A. problem.
Correct. Look at the Providence Foundation in San Francisco. The city paid them over $100,000 for renovations at a shelter painting, removing locks, basic stuff.
Okay, $100,000. Not millions, but still serious money. Did the shelter get painted?
No, the work just never happened.
$100,000 for invisible paint. Did anyone check?
Eventually, yes.
Right.
But the contractor they used had a fake license number, and In a move that should sound familiar by now, the executive director had hired their own children.
It's a family business, apparently. Stealing from the taxpayers is a family tradition in California.
And then there's the Path case. That one is interesting because it wasn't the top boss, was it?
Right. This was a trio of women working for Path people, assisting the homeless. They are accused of stealing $400,000 by creating fake clients.
Fake clients. So similar to the Mickey Mouse database entries.
In a way, they used the identities of their friends and family members. They created fake leases, fake income documents to make it look like these people were homeless and needed rental assistance.
And then they just approved the payments to their friends.
The money went right into their pockets. It is just so easy for them. The controls seem non-existent. It's like the state just opened the vault door and went on a lunch break.
That is the structural failure. The state created a fire hose of money, billions and billions of dollars, and pointed it at a problem without building the plumbing to guide where that water went.
Right.
When you spray money around like that with almost no oversight, as the federal prosecutors put it, you are practically inviting corruption.
It's the field of dreams for fraudsters. If you build the fund, they will come.
But here is the thing that really gets me. We're conservatives. We believe in fiscal responsibility. We hate waste. But we also want the problem solved.
Of course.
Is there anything in this $24 billion mess that actually worked? Or was it all just burning cash?
That is the irony. The state audit reviewed 5 major state programs. They found that only 2 of them were likely cost-effective. And guess what?
They were the simplest ones. They were the simplest ones. Go figure. The first is HomeKey. The legitimate side of it, anyway. This program buys old motels and converts them into housing. The cost is about $144,000 per unit.
$144,000 per unit. Okay, in California real estate, that's a bargain.
Compare that to new construction. When the government tries to build affordable housing from scratch, with all the regulations and red tape, it costs up to $1 million per unit.
$1 million for a single apartment. That's insane. So we can house 6 or 7 people in converted motels for the price of building 1 new apartment.
Yes, and yet the politicians always want the ribbon-cutting ceremony for the new building. They want the photo op with the shovel.
Of course.
The second program that works is CalWORK's housing support. This is direct aid to families who are on the brink of losing their home. It costs about $12,000 to $22,000 per family.
Which makes total sense. It is infinitely cheaper to stop someone from becoming homeless than to try to get them off the street later.
The stats back that up. It costs taxpayers about $50,000 a year to support a homeless individual on the street police, ER visits, you name it. So spending $15 grand to keep a family in their home is a massive return on investment.
So simple solutions. Buy cheap existing buildings and help families pay rent before they crash. Why isn't the whole $24 billion doing that?
Because the state loves bureaucracy. Look at the failures. The HHAP program, billions spent. But the data shows that 1/3 of the people exiting that program went to unknown destinations.
Unknown destinations? That sounds ominous.
It means we paid for services, but we have no idea if they are still homeless. We just lost them.
Wow.
Then there is SRAP, the rental assistance program, $4.8 billion spent. But the state didn't track if it actually prevented evictions.
$4.8 billion, and we don't know if it stopped a single eviction. That is malpractice.
It connects back to that shell game theory. The government created complex, opaque programs that are hard to audit and easy to defraud. They favored expensive complexity over simple, cost-effective solutions.
And now, with these arrests, we are hearing a lot of tough talk. U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley said, "Accountability begins today." Sounds nice.
Hey.
But do we buy it?
I am skeptical. Yes, they caught Soofer. Yes, they caught Shangri-La. But remember, the state stopped tracking the data in 2021. We are in 2026. That is 5 years of darkness.
5 years where we don't know where the money went. 5 years of the data desert.
And look at what is happening right now in Los Angeles with the mansion tax, Measure ULA. They passed this tax to raise even more money for homelessness. But economists are saying it's driving developers out of the city.
Well, they are killing the economy to raise money that they will then lose in a data desert. It's brilliant in a terrible way.
And the money raised by that tax is at risk of the exact same mismanagement. If you pour water into a bucket with a hole in the bottom, pouring faster doesn't fix the hole.
It just makes a bigger puddle. You know, we are fixated on Alexander Soofer today because of the arrest. We're looking at his Range Rover and his Greek villa. But here's the thought I want to leave our listeners with. We know about the $23 million he stole, but there was $24 billion spent.
That is a terrifying math. Soofer is a drop in the bucket.
Exactly. With no tracking since 2021, you have to ask yourself, how many other Soofers are out there right now? How many other charity directors are sitting in luxury homes eating caviar while the clients they are paid to serve are eating instant ramen?
The probability that he is the only one is zero. The system was designed to allow this.
And that is why we need to demand data. If the state can't track the money, they shouldn't spend it. Period. No more billions into the black hole until every dime is accounted for.
Transparency isn't a luxury, it's the bare minimum.
Accountability begins today. Let's hope so. But until we see the receipts, keep your wallet close. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.
We'll catch you next time.